Hello students, welcome to our online platform. Myself Engineer PP sir, your physics mentor. In today's lecture we are going to start with rotational motion. So our today's topic is rotational motion. In previous lecture we discussed about center of mass and different pattern of question based on that. So today we are going to start rotational motion. So see, first of all, if we talk about the motion, then simply we study about translational motion, rotational motion, or we can say rotational motion. So here translational motion is along a straight line. So translational motion means rectilinear motion you can say, or rotational motion means rotation is the motion of wheels, gears, motors, planets. It means rotation means motion about a fixed point, or we can say motion about a fixed axis is known as rotational motion. Clear? So these are the different examples like rotor of jet engines, blades of helicopters. So these all things are related to rotational motion. So here it is explained by these two simple diagrams. So here this motion is known as translational motion, and here it is whirling about a fixed point, so such motion is known as rotation. So these are two simple explanation of translational and rotational motion. Now see, now let us talk about what is a rigid body. So what is a rigid body? So rigid body is a body on which if any external force is applied, then there is no separation between the molecules of that particle or that substance. So from here we can say a rigid body is a body that can rotate with all the parts locked together and without any change in its shape. Clear? So shape में कोई change नहीं होगा यहाँ पर. It means there शेप में चेंज ना होने का मीन क्या हो गया बच्चों यहाँ पर? इट मीन्स देर इज नो सेपरेशन ड्यू टू फोर्स अप्लाइड बिटवीन molecules of that substance. Now system. So system is simply we can say that it is a collection of particles. So system is a collection of any number of particles interacting with one another is known as system. Now see, internal forces. Internal forces, all the forces exerted by various particles of the system on one another. It means internal forces are due to the particles situated in that system. So if one particle applied force on another in that system, then these forces are known as internal forces. Clear? These forces are alone enable the particles to form a well-defined system. So internal forces between two particles are always in pairs. So बच्चों जब भी हम internal forces की बात करेंगे, then these internal forces always should be in pair. Now external forces. So to move or to stop, it means these external forces are applied to any system when we have to make change in its motion or position. So to move or stop an object of finite size, we have to apply a force on the object. So move or stop means we are considering it here that when any force is applied on any object or any system, then it causes change in position or motion. So change in position means stop or motion. This force exerted on a given system is called an external force. Now we have discussed center of mass in our previous lecture. So we will start directly with moment of inertia. So let us talk about moment of inertia in our lecture today. See, let us talk from here. Angular displacement. Angular displacement. So simply when we talk about angular displacement, like here in figure, if a particle travels from this point P to Q, then it rotates about a fixed point, and this fixed point is O, which is center, and it displaces by an small angle, let us say it is theta. If we talk about its linear distance, then this linear distance is equal to length of the arc, means this QP. Let us say this distance is S. So from here we define angular displacement as It is the angle described by the position vector about the axis of rotation. So angle is equal to arc upon radius is our formula. Angle is equal to, or we can say angular displacement is equal to arc upon radius. So here arc is S and radius is R. So directly we can say linear displacement upon radius. So S upon R is angular displacement of this particle during its rotation. SI unit of angular displacement is radian. It is represented by RAD. It is represented by RAD. It is a dimensionless quantity. It is a dimensionless quantity. It means there is no dimension of angular displacement. In vector form, we can say that S vector is equal to theta vector cross R vector. So this is the relation in vector form. One more thing we have discussed about angular displacement in circular motion detail, that if angular displacement is smaller in size, then it is considered as vector, and if angular displacement is large in magnitude, then it is considered as scalar. So angular displacement is a vector quantity whose direction is given by right hand rule. So direction of these vectors, these axial vectors like angular displacement, angular velocity, angular acceleration, angular momentum are given by right hand rule. Right hand rule. So its concept is very simple. Let us say this is direction of A vector, this is direction of B vector, and this is the direction of C vector. Then what is right hand rule? That if we curl fingers of right hand in such a way that it represents cross product between two vectors, then direction of thumb will represent direction of resultant vector. It means if we move this way, then A vector cross B vector is equal to C vector. So C vector is resultant vector and A vector cross B vector represents plane of vector A and B. Plane of vector A and B. So this is the simple concept of angular displacement. If any object completes one cycle or rotates by one cycle, then it covers a distance of 2 pi r, or if we talk about angular displacement in that situation, then here angular displacement becomes equal to 2 pi radian. It becomes equal to 2 pi radian. So this is about angular displacement. Now let us talk about angular velocity. Angular velocity. So angular velocity is simply defined as rate of change of angular displacement with respect to time. So here it is defined by omega is equal to del theta upon del t, where del theta is angular displacement and del t is time period. If we talk about instantaneous angular velocity, then instantaneous means angular velocity at a certain instant. Angular velocity at a certain instant. In that condition, this time interval del t should be very small. So we consider here that limit del t tends to 0, del theta upon del t, and which becomes d theta upon dt. So it is the limiting case of average angular velocity, we can say. So see from here, average angular velocity. So average angular velocity is total angular displacement divided by total time, or if we talk about any given interval, then we can say theta 2 minus theta 1 upon t2 minus t1, or you can simply say del theta upon del t. So this value represents average angular velocity. So del theta upon del t will represent average angular velocity. Now, if we talk about its unit, so SI unit of angular velocity is radian per second. Its SI unit is radian per second. It is represented as radian per second. So this is its symbol. If we talk about its dimension, then in previous slide we discussed dimension of angular displacement m0, l0, t0. So from here we can say that its dimension is equal to t minus 1, or you can say m0, l0, t minus 1. So this is the dimension of angular velocity, which is similar to frequency. It is similar to dimension of frequency. Now if we represent it in vector form, then you have to keep in mind simply one formula, which is S vector is equal to theta vector cross R vector. Now, if you differentiate this relation with respect to time, then ds upon dt becomes v vector, d theta upon dt becomes omega vector. So it is omega vector cross r. R vector is radius vector which is constant. So v vector is equal to omega vector cross r vector. So this is the vector representation of angular velocity. Now omega is an axial vector. So I discussed in previous slide that angular displacement, angular velocity, angular acceleration, angular momentum, torque, all these quantities are axial vectors, and again direction of this axial vector is perpendicular to the plane and its direction is given by right hand screw rule. So this is the simple concept. Now see, during the complete one cycle, if we talk about angular velocity, so omega is equal to 2 pi upon capital T. So this is angular velocity during one complete rotation. During one complete rotation, here angular displacement, total angular displacement is 2 pi radian and total time is capital T, which is known as time period. Time period is time taken in completing one revolution or one round. So it is 2 pi upon capital T, or you can say 2 pi f. So this is the general relation of angular velocity. Now let us talk about angular acceleration. Angular acceleration. So angular acceleration is simply rate of change of angular velocity with respect to time. Rate of change of angular velocity with respect to time is known as angular acceleration. So here change in velocity is del omega divided by change in time is del t. So this is the simple relation of angular acceleration. If we talk about instantaneous acceleration, then again we will place limit, del t tends to 0 and our relation will be d omega vector upon dt. And if we place omega is equal to d theta upon dt, then alpha becomes equal to d square theta upon dt square. Means if we perform second order differentiation of angular displacement, then we can find angular acceleration. Now unit, so its unit is radian per second square. Here again, if we talk about its dimension, then radian is a scalar quantity and dimension is t minus 2. Dimension is t minus 2, or you can say m0 l0 t minus 2 is the dimension of angular acceleration. Now see, if alpha is equal to 0, then circular or rotational motion is said to be uniform. So we have studied this case in uniform circular motion in detail, that if alpha is equal to 0, then v becomes equal to constant. It means in that situation that rotational motion or circular motion is said to be uniform. Now average angular acceleration. So average angular acceleration is again, you can say omega 2 minus omega 1 upon t2 minus t1, or you can say del omega upon del t. Now relation between angular acceleration and linear acceleration. So again same relation as I told you earlier, then you have to simply keep in mind one relation, s vector is equal to theta vector cross r vector. If we differentiate it with respect to time, then it becomes v vector is equal to omega vector cross r vector. Now again differentiate this relation, then dv upon dt becomes equal to a vector, which is linear acceleration, and d omega upon dt becomes alpha vector, this is angular acceleration, and r vector is radius vector, which is constant. So here it relation becomes a vector is equal to alpha vector cross r vector. Again here direction of this acceleration is given by right hand law. Now let us talk about next parameter. So see, if we compare here linear motion and rotational motion, so comparison of linear motion and rotational motion, then this is quite easy concept of its comparison. So let us see, if linear acceleration is 0, If linear acceleration is 0, in that situation, motion is said to be constant and s becomes equal to ut. S becomes equal to ut because our relation is s is equal to ut plus half a t square. So if a becomes equal to 0, then s is equal to ut. Then here in case of rotational motion, if angular acceleration is 0, in that situation angular velocity will be constant and theta will be equal to omega into t. So you have to keep in mind that in case of translational motion and rotational motion, all the quantities show similar function but their notations are different. Like here we talk about linear acceleration. In case of rotational motion, we talk about angular acceleration. Here we talk about linear distance, or you simply say distance or displacement, and here we talk about angular displacement. Here you say linear velocity, and in case of rotational motion, you consider it as angular velocity omega. So see, all the parameters are similar in nature but are represented by different notations. Again, if linear acceleration is constant, so if acceleration is constant in case of translational motion, then equations of motion are applied. So s is equal to u plus v upon 2 into t, a is equal to v minus u upon t, v is equal to u plus at. So if you know these three relations, then you can derive all other relations during the uniform motion. So this is यूनिफॉर्म एसिलरेशन से ट्रेवल करेगा, तो बच्चों तीनों इक्वेशंस आपको यूज करनी है. दिस एस nth इज डिस्टेंस ट्रेवल्ड इन n सेकेंड. इट रिप्रेजेंट्स डिस्टेंस ट्रेवल्ड in nth second. Now see, similarly, if our particle travels with uniform angular acceleration, if angular acceleration is constant, means if particle travels with uniform angular acceleration, in that situation also these equations become omega 2 is equal to omega 1 plus alpha t, theta is equal to omega 1 t plus half alpha t square, and omega 2 square is equal to omega 1 square plus 2 alpha theta. So these three equations are similar to equations used in linear motion. Clear? Here notations are changed. And if we talk about angular displacement in nth second, this theta nth represents angular displacement in nth second. So it is theta nth is equal to initial angular velocity, means omega 1 plus alpha by 2 into 2n minus 1. So this is the simple comparison of linear motion or rectilinear motion, or you can say translational motion and rotational motion. Next comparison is, now see, if acceleration is not constant, then the above equations will not be applicable. Clear? So as I told you earlier, that equations of motion are applied only when acceleration is constant, or you can say that when particle travels with uniform acceleration, then only equations of motion are applied, either in case of translational motion or in case of rotational motion. Now see, so if acceleration is not constant, if a is not constant, in that condition we will use simply these relations: v is equal to dx upon dt, a is equal to dv upon dt, or d square x upon dt square. Clear? Or you can say v dv is equal to a into ds. v dv is equal to a into ds. So these relations can be used to solve the questions when acceleration is not constant. Similarly, if angular acceleration is not constant, then also these equations of angular motion are not applied, and we will use simply these relations: omega is equal to d theta upon dt, alpha is equal to d omega upon dt, or you can say d square theta upon dt square, and omega d omega is equal to alpha d theta. So these relations can be used to solve any pattern of question based on rotational motion. Now see, some questions are here in form of solved examples. So I am discussing one or two question here, then we will talk about our next topic. So here, angular velocity of seconds hand of a watch will be. So if we talk about angular velocity of seconds hand, so see, seconds hand, minute hand or hour hand, these all hands have different time periods. It means these all hands will take different times in completing one revolution. So in case of seconds hand, time period is 1 minute. Time period is 1 minute, or you can say 60 second. It means second hand of a clock takes 1 minute to complete one revolution. So here we can calculate its angular velocity using the relation omega is equal to theta upon t. Angular displacement upon time. Angular displacement is one cycle is completed means 2 pi radian and divided by time is 60 second. So it is pi by 30 radian per second. So our second option is correct. Pi upon 30 radian per second is the correct answer. Now see, in the next question. In the next question, the wheel of a car is rotating at the rate of 1200 rpm, 1200 revolutions per minute. On pressing the accelerator for 10 seconds, it starts rotating at 4500 revolutions per minute. The angular acceleration of the wheel is, so see here, car is initially traveling with 1200 rpm, and then on pressing the accelerator means now car is being accelerated and it attains 4500 rpm in 10 seconds. Then we have to calculate value of that angular acceleration of the wheel. So you can use simply the relation. Now see, this is rpm. So students generally gets confused here that this is angular velocity. So students, this is not angular velocity. You have to see its units, revolution per minute. So revolution per minute को आप convert कीजिए यहाँ पर revolution per second. So revolution per second simply represents frequency. So first of all, 1200. Let us say it is initial frequency f1. It is 1200 rpm. So convert it in seconds. So it is 1200 upon 60 means 20 hertz, or you can say 20 round per second. Similarly, in 10 seconds frequency becomes 4500 rpm. Again convert it into hertz or in rps. So it is, let us say it is 225 upon 3, 75. So it is 75 rps. 75 rps. Now we can simply calculate acceleration. So alpha is equal to d omega upon dt. Alpha is equal to d omega upon dt, and d omega is change in angular velocity. Angular velocity in terms of frequency is 2 pi f. So we can say 2 pi f2 minus f1 upon time interval is 10 seconds. So we can use this relation to find angular acceleration. So calculate this relation. So it is 2 pi upon 10 into 75 minus 20, it is 55. So it is 110, or you can say 11 pi. So 11 pi radian per second square. 11 pi radian per second square. Now see, 11 pi radian per second square is not given in our options. So another option is also given in terms of degree per second square. So convert radian into degree. So you know the relation that 360 degree is equal to 2 pi radian. So 1 radian is equal to 2 pi upon 360 degree. 2 pi upon 360 degree. So convert here 11 pi radian. So see, convert it into degree. So it is 11 pi into 360 upon 2 pi. 11 pi into 360 upon 2 pi. So if you multiply this relation, then it is 180. 180 multiplied by 11, it is 1980. So our correct answer is 1980 degrees per second square. So these are some pattern of question based on angular acceleration, angular velocity and angular. Now see, next pattern of question is, figure shows a small wheel fixed coaxially on a bigger one of double the radius. The system rotates about the common axis. So from here we can say that two wheels are there, both wheels are coaxial. Clear? Radius of this bigger wheel is twice of this smaller wheel. So the system rotates about the common axis. So this system is rotating about common axis. The strings supporting A and B do not slip on the wheels. So these strings supporting A and B do not slip on the wheels. Means there is no slippery motion, means no translational motion, there is pure rotational motion. If x and y be the distances traveled by A and B in the same time interval. So A and B are traveling similar distances. If x and y be the distances traveled by A and B in similar time, same time में distances travel कर रही है, then we have to give relation in x and y. So we are given here four relations in x and y. So our simple concept is that when these wheels travels a certain distance in any given time interval and these strings are not slipping on the wheels, then we can say that this linear distance traveled by A and B is angle into radius. Angle into radius. We know the formula, angle is equal to arc upon radius. So in that situation, this distance will be equal to arc. So S is equal to theta into r, and theta is constant. So we can say that S proportional to r. R is radius of the wheel. R is radius of the wheel. So let us say for first wheel distance traveled is x. For second wheel distance traveled is y. So x upon y is equal to, A is attached with smaller radius, so it is r upon 2r or 1 by 2. So we can say y is equal to 2x. So any option having this relation y is equal to 2x will be correct. So option number C is correct here. Clear? So this is another pattern of question. Now let us see next pattern. In next pattern of question, we are given that if position vector of a particle is r vector is equal to 3i plus 4j cap meter and its angular velocity omega is j cap plus 2k cap, j cap plus 2k cap radian per second, then its linear velocity. So you are given radius vector and angular velocity vector and have to calculate linear velocity. So we know the relation that v vector is equal to omega vector cross r vector. Simply you have to use cross product of these two vectors and velocity can be calculated. So you can use this relation to find out velocity vector. Practice it yourself. Now next topic is moment of inertia. So this is the important topic in rotational motion. So let us talk about moment of inertia. So what is moment of inertia? So moment of inertia plays the same role in rotational motion as mass plays in linear motion. So simply in 1D motion or in linear motion we studied that mass gives measurement of inertia of body, measurement of inertia of any body. So here in case of rotational motion, this moment of inertia plays the same role. plays the same role. Now, it is the property of a body due to which it opposes any change in its state of rest or uniform rotation. So see, inertia was opposing the change in position or motion, but in linear form. Now moment of inertia opposes change in rotation or rate of change in state of rest or motion in case of rotation. Now see, moment of inertia of any particle is given by mass multiplied by square of perpendicular distance. Square of perpendicular distance. So r is the perpendicular distance of particle from axis of rotation. From axis of rotation. So it is simply m into r square. Keep in mind, m is mass of that system and r is perpendicular distance of the particle from axis of rotation. Now, moment of inertia made up of number of particles which are in discrete form, or we can say there are n number of particles in a system, then net moment of inertia is calculated by sum of individual moment of inertia I1 plus I2 plus I3, or you can say m1 r1 square plus m2 r2 square up to mn rn square. Moment of inertia of a continuous distribution of mass. So if mass is distributed continuously, then we can simply use this relation I is equal to integration of r square dm. So in case of center of mass also we have discussed position vector of center of mass for uniform distribution of mass, and here also we have seen the relation for uniform distribution of mass is calculated by integration method. So I is equal to integration of r square dm. If we calculate moment of inertia in different directions, then we can say that Ix is equal to integration of x square dm, Iy is equal to integration of y square dm, and Iz is equal to integration of z square dm. So these are the relations of moment of inertia in individual coordinates. Now see, so this is the concept of simple representation of moment of inertia. Let us say any object is rotating about this axis of rotation whose mass is m. So perpendicular distance of its axis of rotation is r. So from here we can say that I is equal to m into r square. I is equal to m into r square. Here this is the axis of rotation and a number of particles are there in this axis of rotation. We can consider that there are n number of particles. Let us say it is mn and its position vector is rn. So in this condition it will be I is equal to summation I is equal to 1 to n mi ri square, or you can directly say m1 r1 square plus m2 r2 square plus m3 r3 square up to mn rn square. And this is the case of uniform distribution of mass. Let us say mass of this system is m, which is uniformly distributed, and we have to calculate its complete moment of inertia. Then we consider that it is made of small objects of mass dm, and this small mass dm is at small r distance from axis of rotation. Then in this situation moment of inertia will be integration of r square dm. Integration of r square dm. So this is the simple representation of moment of inertia. Now SI unit of moment of inertia. So SI unit of moment of inertia is, you can say by relation I is equal to mr square, that it is kg per meter square. So SI unit is kg into meter square, which I is equal to m into r square. M is mass which is measured in kg, r square in meter square. Moment of inertia depends on mass, distribution of mass, and on the position of axis of rotation. So simply you have to keep in mind that moment of inertia depends on axis of rotation, mass, and distribution of mass. Moment of inertia does not depend on angular velocity, angular acceleration, torque, angular momentum, rotational kinetic energy. Clear? So simply keep in mind that moment of inertia do not depend on any angular quantity. Any angular quantity means velocity, acceleration, torque, momentum, etc. It is not a vector. So if we talk about moment of inertia, then moment of inertia is neither a vector, neither a nor a scalar quantity, because let us say this is a system of particles. This is system of particles, and these are different particles of mass m1 whose position vector is r1. Here it is m2 whose position vector is r2, and so on. So see, for every particle in this system, direction of moment of inertia is different. Here it is this direction, here it is in this direction, here it is in this direction. So it is neither vector nor scalar. So we call it as tensor quantity. So moment of inertia is a tensor quantity. Clear? Then if we talk about next property, then we can say, in case of a hollow and solid body of same mass, radius and shape for a given axis, moment of inertia of hollow body is greater than that of for solid body. Why it is so? If we talk about a hollow body and solid body of same radius, same mass, then for moment of inertia we can say that moment of inertia of solid body is smaller than for hollow body. So it is due to mass distribution. It is due to mass distribution. So it is clear that moment of inertia of hollow body is greater than for solid body, or you can say that moment of inertia of solid body is smaller than moment of inertia of hollow body, because it depends on the mass distribution. It depends on the mass distribution. Now next, we talk about radius of gyration. Radius of gyration. So what is radius of gyration? So let us say I am considering here that this is a system and this is the axis of rotation. This is the axis of rotation. I am considering here a point where complete mass is considered to be concentrated. Complete mass is considered to be concentrated, and its perpendicular distance is k. Its perpendicular distance is k. Let us say here it is capital M, which represents its complete mass. It means complete mass of the given system. So it is defined from here that radius of gyration of a body about a given axis is the perpendicular distance of a point from the axis. So see this point, perpendicular distance from the axis of rotation where whole mass of body were concentrated. So here I am considering that complete mass of this body is going to be considered. Clear? And there will not be any change in moment of inertia. It means the body shall have the same moment of inertia as it has with the actual distribution of mass. So in this situation we can say that I is equal to mk square, or you can say moment of inertia is given as here. So k is equal to root I upon m. I represents moment of inertia, k represents radius of gyration. So here k is equal to root of I upon m. So from here you can see that it is represented by root of I upon m. Here root I is moment of inertia and capital M is whole mass of the system. Now see, I is equal to, I represents total moment of inertia of the system. So here we are considering that if I1, I2, I3 different moment of inertias of different particles in that system, and all the particles are of same mass, then we can say that I is equal to m into r1 square plus r2 square plus r3 square up to rn square. And we can say from here that it is equal to mk square it is equal to mk square. So by comparing this value, we can calculate that k is equal to root of r1 square plus r2 square up to rn square upon n. So this is the relation of radius of gyration if any system consists n particles of equal mass which are placed at different positions. So this is the general concept of radius of gyration. So see, from here it is clear. Hence, radius of gyration of a body. Radius of gyration of a body about a given axis is equal to RMS distance root mean square. So this distance R1 square plus R2 square. So R1 square, R2 square, these are representing square value. Square. Then their mean. So its mean R1 square plus R2 square plus R3 square up to Rn square upon n किसको represent करेगा? Mean को, and then its whole root. So such value is known as root mean square value, or you can say RMS value of constituent particles of the body from the given axis. Clear? So this is RMS value of RMS value of all the constituent particles from the given axis distance के लिए. Radius of gyration depends on shape and size of the body, position and configuration of the axis of rotation, and distribution of mass of the body with respect to axis of the rotation. So simply keep in mind that if I consider that radius of gyration depends on shape and size, so shape and size पे depend कर रहा है, it means ये axis of rotation पे भी depend कर रहा है, and mass distribution पे भी depend कर रहा है. Radius of gyration does not depend on mass of the body. So always keep in mind, radius of gyration depends only on distribution of mass, or you can say mass distribution. It is independent of mass of the body. मास पे डिपेंड नहीं करेगा बच्चों, डिपेंड करेगा ये मास डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन पे. डायमेंशन SI unit. So see, dimension is, we are talking about radius of gyration. So radius word जैसे ही बच्चों आपने देखा, it means its SI unit is meters and its dimension is L1, or you can say M0 L1 T0. सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ रेडियस ऑफ जायरेशन. सो सिग्निफिकेंस क्या होता है, क्या यहाँ पर ये सिग्निफाई करता है रेडियस ऑफ जायरेशन? सो थ्रू दिस कॉन्सेप्ट ए रियल बॉडी इज replaced by a point mass for dealing its rotational motion. So what we can consider while calculating moment of inertia, or while talking about rotational motion of any body of any irregular shape, we can consider that its whole mass is concentrated at a given point or at a single point. So this is the concept which is given by radius of gyration. Like in case of a disc rotating about an axis through its center of mass and perpendicular to its plane. So we are having any disc, कोई डिस्क है बच्चों अपने पास में जो रोटेट कर रही है अबाउट इट्स सेंटर ऑफ मास एंड परपेंडिकुलर टू इट्स प्लेन. सो इन दैट सिचुएशन मोमेंट ऑफ इनर्शिया, सो डिस्क के लिए बच्चों उस कंडीशन में मोमेंट ऑफ इनर्शिया हो गया हाफ mr स्क्वायर. so it is given by its relation half mr square upon m. So radius of gyration is r upon root 2. It means complete mass of that disk. So I am taking simply this example here to explain you significance of radius of gyration. So here r upon root 2 simply suggests that whole mass of this disk rotating about an axis is situated at r upon root 2 distance from its axis of rotation. Now see, for a given body, inertia is constant whereas moment of inertia is variable. Why it is so? So see, it can be said because moment of inertia depends on mass distribution. Moment of inertia depends on mass distribution while inertia depends on simply mass. So if I consider different bodies of different size which are having similar mass, then their inertia will be similar, but due to their different mass distributions, their moment of inertia will be different. So it is an important note which you have to remember for your MCQs which are based on concepts. Theorem of parallel axis. So for calculation of moment of inertia for different shaped bodies, we require two theorems. One is parallel axis theorem and another one is perpendicular axis theorem. So let us talk about these two theorems. So this is theorem of parallel axis, or you can say parallel axis theorem. So according to it, what we consider, let us say that we have any system, and here this system is rotating about this axis of rotation, this axis of rotation. So moment of inertia of a body about a given axis I, and we have to calculate moment of inertia about this given axis. So what parallel axis theorem says, now see, these two axes are parallel to each other. So according to this theorem, that moment of inertia about an axis parallel to the axis of rotation, so it is I is equal to Ig plus mass into perpendicular distance between axis of rotations. So perpendicular distance is a, so it is Ig plus m a square. So this is the mathematical relation of parallel axis theorem, which is used in finding moment of inertia of different bodies. So example is taken, moment of inertia of a disk about an axis through its center and perpendicular to the plane is half mr square. So moment of inertia about an axis through its tangent and perpendicular to the plane. So let us say this is a disk, and we are given that it is rotating about this axis. So in case of disk, moment of inertia about an axis passing through its center of mass is given as, let us say, Ig is equal to half mr square, and its tangent is this. So about this tangent, it will be half mr square plus mr square. It means it will be 3 by 2 mr square. 3 by 2 mr square. So this is simply parallel axis theorem and its example. Now if we talk about perpendicular axis theorem, then what is perpendicular axis theorem? So it suggests, let us say, that sum of moment of inertia in a plane, or you can say about a plane lamina, is equal to moment of inertia about an axis perpendicular to its plane. So what we are considering, let us say moment of inertia about x-axis is ix, about z-axis it is iz, and about y-axis it is iy. So if I consider xy plane, then sum of moment of inertia of this plane is equal to moment of inertia of iz. It means it is perpendicular to the plane xy. So iz is equal to ix plus iy. So this is the simple mathematical relation. So what is its statement? According to this theorem, the sum of moment of inertia of plane lamina, means I am considering here xy, so it is ix plus iy, about two mutually perpendicular axes. So both are mutually perpendicular axes lying in its plane is equal to moment of inertia about an axis perpendicular to the plane of lamina and passing through the point of intersection of first two axes. तो क्या कॉन्सेप्ट, क्या की पॉइंट यहां पर आपको ध्यान रखना है बच्चों मोमेंट ऑफ इनर्शिया कैलकुलेट करने में, दैट all three axes should be perpendicular, or you can say all these three axes should be mutually perpendicular, and their point of intersection should be common. So देखो यहां पर ये तीनों सेम पॉइंट से इंटरसेक्ट कर रही हैं यहां पर. So this is perpendicular axis theorem. Now let us talk about an example. So here we are given an example. Moment of inertia of a disk about an axis through its center of mass and perpendicular to its plane is half mr square. So if the disk is in xy plane, So if this disk is in xy plane, then theorem of perpendicular axis. So see, here we are considering that this is our z axis, this is x axis, and this is y axis. So this is xyz plane for this disk, and we have to calculate moment of inertia about this axis. So see, in this case we will use theorem of perpendicular axis. Theorem of perpendicular axis. So we should know moment of inertia about ix and iy. So see, iz, so iz is moment of inertia about this axis. It is half mr square given to us. So it is half mr square, and ix plus iy. So ix and iy both are equal. Why? Due to symmetry of the body. Due to symmetry of the body, so it is 2id, or you can say id is equal to 1 by 4 mr square. 1 by 4 mr square. Now see, in case of symmetrical two-dimensional bodies, as moment of inertia for all axes passing through the center of mass and in the plane of body will be same, so the two axes in the plane of body need not to be perpendicular to each other. So what we are considering here, that if we talk about a two-dimensional system, then in that two-dimensional system, moment of inertia for all axes passing through the center of mass and in the plane of body will be same. So the two axes in the plane of body need not to be perpendicular to each other. उन axes को आपस में perpendicular होना कोई compulsory नहीं है if they are passing through center of mass and lie in the same plane. Then moment of inertia of 2 point masses about their center of mass. अबाउट देयर सेंटर ऑफ मास. सो 2 पॉइंट मासेज की बात हो रही है किसी भी सिस्टम में, वहां पर कैसे मोमेंट ऑफ इनर्शिया हम कैलकुलेट करेंगे. सो लेट अस कंसीडर दैट दीज 2 पॉइंट मासेज आर देयर m1 एंड m2, and this is their center of mass. So this center of mass is situated at r1 distance from mass m1 and at r2 distance from mass m2. So here let us say total separation between the objects is r1 plus r2 is equal to r. Second thing we know, in center of mass we have studied that m1 r1 is equal to m2 r2. m1 r1 is equal to m2 r2. We know it very well. Third one is, if we talk about position vector of r1, then position vector of r1 will be m2 upon m1 plus m2 into r, and if we calculate value of r2, then it will be m1 upon m1 plus m2 into r. So these are two relations in case of r1 and r2. Now see, moment of inertia of this system. So moment of inertia is about center of mass. So about the center of mass, if we calculate moment of inertia, let us say this is the axis of rotation, then in this condition, see here mass m1, perpendicular distance is r1. Here mass is m2, perpendicular distance is r2. So moment of inertia is m1 r1 square plus m2 r2 square. So this is moment of inertia of a system of two particles, or you can say I is equal to m1 m2, or if you have to calculate like you are given separation between these two masses is small r, then if you calculate moment of inertia in terms of r, then you can say that I is equal to m1 m2 upon m1 plus m2 into r square. m1 m2 upon m1 plus m2 into r square. So this value can be replaced by mu, and mu is known as reduced mass. Mu is known as reduced mass. Clear? Then next, in case of diatomic molecules, like H2, HCl, moment of inertia about their center of mass is derived from above formula. So if we talk about diatomic molecules, then moment of inertia of these diatomic molecules is calculated by this above relation. So see, it is a two particle system and these are also diatomic molecules, so their moment of inertia is calculated by above relation. So analogy between translatory motion and rotational motion. So it is also very simple, as I told you earlier, that all the parameters in translatory motion and rotational motion are used for same purpose, but their rotations are different. In case of rotational motion, they will be represented by different notations. So let us say in translatory motion, here mass represents inertia and here mass distribution represents moment of inertia. So mass in translatory motion is analogous to moment of inertia in rotational motion. So here linear momentum. So linear momentum is P is equal to mv and angular momentum is represented by L and it is, now see, m. So mass is replaced by I, moment of inertia. Linear velocity is replaced by angular velocity. So simply no need to panic, no need to memorize these formulas. You have to simply keep the concept in mind that momentum is mass into velocity. So rotational के केस में क्या होगा, angular momentum is moment of inertia multiplied by angular velocity. Relation between linear momentum and linear kinetic energy. So it is P is equal to root 2 me, and here in case of angular momentum it is capital L is equal to 2 ie. So means simply m is replaced by I. M is replaced by I. Then here in 1D motion we talk about force. So force is simply mass into acceleration. So because here motion is in a straight line and this motion is caused by a force, simply here we talk about rotation about a fixed axis which causes torque. It means here it will be represented by tau. So force is now replaced by torque. Here mass is replaced by mass is replaced by moment of inertia and linear acceleration is replaced by angular acceleration. So it becomes tau is equal to I into alpha. Now see, kinetic energy. So here linear kinetic energy is half mv square, while in case of rotational kinetic energy, is half m is replaced by I and v is replaced by omega. So it is half I omega square. E is equal to p square upon 2m, or you can say E is equal to L square upon 2I. So this is the comparison of translatory motion and rotational motion. Now moment of inertia of some standard bodies about different axis. तो मोमेंट ऑफ इनर्शिया की बात करते हैं बच्चों डिफरेंट बॉडीज के लिए. तो सी, इन केस ऑफ रिंग, सो जनरली बच्चों यहां पर हम 4 डिफरेंट केसेस की बात करते हैं फॉर ईच बॉडी. फर्स्ट इज अबाउट एन एक्सिस पासिंग थ्रू सेंटर ऑफ मास, और यू कैन से सेंटर ऑफ ग्रेविटी एंड परपेंडिकुलर टू इट्स प्लेन. क्लियर? सो सेंटर ऑफ मास से पास होगा और परपेंडिकुलर टू द प्लेन होगा उस एक्सिस के लिए. दूसरा अबाउट इट्स डायमीटर. थर्ड वन अबाउट द टेंजेंशियल एक्सिस इन इट्स प्लेन. एंड फोर्थ वन इज about a tangential axis perpendicular to its plane. So if you know these two relations, first one, moment of inertia about an axis passing through its center and perpendicular to the plane, and second one is about the diameter, then rest two can be find out. Rest two are tangential cases of both these. So in first case, in case of ring, complete mass is distributed on its outer surface. Let us say its whole mass is capital M and its radius is capital R, which is also the perpendicular distance from the axis of rotation. So for ring, moment of inertia about the axis which is passing through center of mass and perpendicular to the plane is mr square. Here it is radius of gyration. So if we compare, see, our relation is I is equal to mk square. Here I is equal to mr square. So mr square is equal to mk square. It means k is equal to r. So in case of moment of inertia for ring about an axis passing through center of mass and perpendicular to the axis, perpendicular to the plane, is k is equal to r ratio k square upon r square. So see from here, if r square is divided by, if k square is divided by r square, then it becomes 1. Now about its diameter. So in case of diameter, we use, let us say this is the diameter, this is the diameter, and this is that axis which is perpendicular to the plane. So here it is I c is equal to mr square, and ix and iy both are similar. Ix and iy both are similar. So we can say ix plus iy. Let us say this is perpendicular axis theorem. So ix plus iy is equal to mr square, and both are equal. Ix is equal to iy. सिमिट्री की बात हुई, अभी पीछे अपन ने बात करी कि कोई भी 2D लेमिना होगा या कोई प्लेन लेमिना होगा जिसमें सिमिट्री होने पे वहां पे मोमेंट ऑफ इनर्शिया सिमिलर होंगे, और कंडीशन क्या बोली थी, एंड दोज एक्सेस नीड नॉट टू बी परपेंडिकुलर. लेकिन यहां पर तो परपेंडिकुलर है. आई एक्स इज इक्वल टू आई वाई. सो यू कैन से आई एक्स इज इक्वल टू आई वाई हो गया, तो इट इज 1/2 mr square. 1/2 mr square. So in this case, moment of inertia is half mr square. If it is compared with mk square, then k is equal to r upon root 2. So this is the radius of gyration. K is equal to r upon root 2, and k square upon r square is 1/2. Next, tangential axis on in its own plane. So in case of tangential axis, now see, tangential axis is केस ऑफ दिस अबाउट इट्स डायमीटर. सो प्लेन में ही है, तो प्लेन में तो डायमीटर है, तो उसके अबाउट मींस ये हो गया यहां पर. लेट अस से दिस इज अबाउट y axis, perpendicular distance is r. So we have studied that about y axis moment of inertia is half mr square, and this is perpendicular distance r, and whole mass is concentrated here. So it is half mr square plus mr square, which is 3/2 mr square, and here radius of gyration is root 3/2 r. So this is moment of inertia for tangential axis about its diameter or in its plane. Now see about the tangential axis which is perpendicular to the plane. So perpendicular to the plane means first case. So उस वाली condition में moment of inertia mr square, perpendicular distance फिर से हो गई r, तो mr square plus mr square is 2 mr square, and its radius of gyration is root 2r. Now disk. So in case of disk, mass is distributed uniformly. Mass is distributed uniformly. Let us say this is disk. So ring was hollow, and here mass is distributed uniformly in complete area. So let us again say its mass is capital M and radius is capital R. So again डिस्क के लिए भी बच्चों अपन चारों केस यूज करेंगे. तो इसके सेंटर ऑफ मास से पास होने वाली एक्सिस के लिए विच इज परपेंडिकुलर टू द प्लेन, व्हाट will be, it will be half mr square. Radius of gyration r upon root 2. In case of diameter, so diameter के केस में इसका half means 1/4 mr square, और radius of gyration will be r upon 2. Now tangential axis about its diameter, or you can say tangential axis in its own plane. So in this condition 1/4 mr square plus mr square. तो 1/4 mr square plus mr square becomes equal to m/4 mr square, and radius of gyration is root 5/2 r. Then fourth one is about its tangential axis perpendicular to the plane. About tangential axis perpendicular to the plane. So in this condition, So about a tangential axis perpendicular to its plane. So in this condition, it will be half mr square plus mr square means 3 by 2 mr square, and radius of gyration will be root 3 by 2 r. Similarly, you can calculate, like here you are given annular disc. Annular disc means which is hollow from in between. So this portion is hollow, and this represents inner radius and this represents outer radius. The concept is same. Concept is same. Here we are having inner and outer radiuses, so we will simply use r1 square plus r2 square. So keep in mind, in case of disk, moment of inertia about its axis passing through center of mass and perpendicular to plane is half mr square. So here r square will be replaced by r1 square plus r2 square. Clear? About diameter, so again 1/4 means m by 4 r1 square plus r2 square. Same concept will be used. Next, now see, if we talk about solid cylinder and hollow cylinder, then simply keep in mind, no need to memorize all the formulas. Solid cylinder behaves as disk, so all the four cases of disk will be used in case of solid cylinder, and in case of hollow cylinder all the four cases of ring will be used. So no need to memorize all these formulas, simply keep in mind moment of inertia of ring and hollow cylinder are similar, and moment of inertia of disk and solid cylinder are same. So cylindrical shell, or you can say hollow cylinder, it is analogous to ring. It is analogous to ring. So all four cases will be similar in case of cylindrical shell, or you can say hollow cylinder. Now let us talk about, so see, it is hollow cylinder with inner and outer radius. So concept is same, simply replace r square by r1 square plus r2 square, nothing else. Now see, solid sphere and hollow sphere. So simply keep in mind that in case of solid sphere, moment of inertia about its diameter axis, about its diameter is always 2 by 5 mr square. 2 by 5 mr square. In case of its tangent, so if you know this relation, then you can find so another relation which is for tangential. So in case of tangential, plus mr square, and it will be 7 by 5 mr square. Now in case of hollow sphere, for hollow sphere it is 2 by 3 mr square. For hollow sphere it is 2 by 3 mr square about its diameter. So spherical shell बोल दे बच्चों, चाहे आपको hollow sphere बोल दे, it is 2 by 3 mr square about its diameter, and about its tangent 2 by 3 plus mr square, so it is 5 by 3 mr square. So these are simple relations. You should know basic concept of moment of inertia and perpendicular axis theorem and parallel axis theorem, and you can calculate for any body. So this is for hollow sphere having inner radius and outer radius. So again concept is same here. It is 2 by 5 m. So see, it should be 2 by 5 m r square, but now here r1 represents inner radius and r2 represents inner radius. So it will be, keep in mind, if here is 5, trick to memorize, here if it is denominator it is 5, then it will be r square 5 minus r1 5 divided by r2 cube minus r1 cube. Overall there should be power of 2. Overall there should be power of 2. So if you use in numerator power 5, then there will be power 3 in denominator. And in case of hollow sphere, this will be about its tangent. So this is, but mr2 square. Here complete mass is centered at its geometrical center, but distance will be equal to outer radius, so mr2 square. Then see, long thin rod. So in case of long thin rod also, you should know moment of inertia about an axis passing through its center of mass and about an end. So if we calculate moment of inertia about an axis passing through its center of mass and perpendicular to the rod, in that case it is ml square by 12. And if we calculate moment of inertia about any one end, then it will be ml square by 3. Then next, if you are given any rectangular lamina, then simply keep in mind that while talking about a rod which is thin, so here it will be only length, width will be ignored, but in case of rectangular lamina there will be length as well as width. So our relation will be same, but here it will be L, capital L square will be replaced by small l square plus b square. So our relation will be m by 12 L square plus b square for the axis passing through the center of mass and perpendicular to the plane. Now if axis is passing through tangential perpendicular to the plane and at the midpoint of the breadth, means if it passes through its midpoint, so this is the breadth and its midpoint is here, so here it will be m by 12 4l square plus b square. It means simply keep in mind that in case of length, it is the simple case equal to thin rod, means ml square by 3. So in case of length we will be placing it ml square by 3 plus for this width lamina it is passing through its center. It means if it passes through center, then moment of inertia is ml square by 12. So differentiate for both, and so it will be mb square upon 12. Here this width is b, so it will be mb square upon 12. Simply keep in mind. So here it is directly placed. If I take m by 12 as common, then here it will be 4l square plus here it will be b square. Now see, so these are moment of inertia for different bodies. Again, now tangential, perpendicular to the plane and at the midpoint of the length. If this axis is now midpoint of its length, in that case, so in this situation now length will be half, so it is ml square upon 12 because it is passing through its center, and width is complete. It means passing through mb square upon 3. So this will be the condition when it is passing through midpoint of length and perpendicular to the tangential perpendicular to the plane. So these are some moment of inertia for different bodies. Then see, rectangular parallelopiped, length L, breadth B and thickness T. For this, moment of inertia about axis passing through center of mass and parallel to, so if parallel to length, then in that situation this is length, so in this situation leave the length and it will be m b square plus t square upon 12. If parallel to breadth, then leave that breadth and it will be m l square plus t square upon 12. And if parallel to thickness, then in that condition leave the thickness and it will be mb square plus l square upon 12. Simple concept. Now rectangular parallelopipe, length L, breadth B and thickness T. Now tangential. Initially we are talking about axis which is passing through center of mass and parallel to either length, breadth or thickness. Now tangential and passing through again length and parallel to again length, breadth and thickness. So in that case concept will be same again. If it is parallel to length, then in that condition ml square upon 4, and for all the remaining cases it will be ml square mb square by 12 plus mt square by 12. So this is the concept. Now see, elliptical disk. So in case of elliptical disk passing through center of mass and perpendicular to the plane. So in this condition, it is in elliptical shape. So there will be two axes. If we talk about elliptical shape, then there will be two axes. This is semi major and this is semi minor. Semi major axis is B and semi minor axis is semi major axis is A and semi minor axis is B. So in this condition, its moment of inertia will be m by 4 A square plus B square. So keep in mind, for elliptical disk it will be m by 4 A square plus B square. In case of solid cone, if we talk about a solid cone, and we have to calculate moment of inertia about an axis passing through the center of base, then it will be 3 by 10 mr square. 3 by 10 mr square. So these are moment of inertia for different bodies. Similarly, you can calculate for these triangular laminas. So if this is an equilateral triangle, and we have to calculate moment of inertia about an axis passing through center of mass and perpendicular to the plane, then in that condition, see, it will be ma square by 6. So how to calculate it? It will be half m into, let us say, distance square. Let us consider it d, md square. So d is here a upon root 3. D is perpendicular axis distance from axis of rotation. So it will be a upon root 3. So if we place d is equal to a upon root 3, then it will be ma square upon 6. Now see, next, right angled triangular lamina. So it was for equilateral, and now for triangular lamina, it will be along the edges. So if we talk about any edge, first case mb square by 6, second case ma square by 6, and in third case it will be m upon 6, or you can say that it will be m upon 6 a square b square upon a square plus b square. So these are different cases to find moment of inertia for different shaped bodies. So this is it from today's lecture. So in today's lecture, we discussed about rotational motion. What is general concept of rotational motion? We discussed different parameters related to rotational motion, and then important topic of rotational motion, which is moment of inertia and calculation of moment of inertia for different shaped bodies. So in next lecture, we will talk about how to calculate questions and what are the type of different questions which are asked in your competitive section. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching today's video. Let us meet in next lecture. Thank you.